Salut tout le monde, welcome back to the channel. Now in today's video I want to talk about my experience, my albeit short experience at a French language school in Paris when I first arrived in 2015 and why it contributed to me deciding that French school was not for me and was not the way I could be progressing most efficiently and feeling best about the language. Now I want to say up front, this is not in any way me condemning language school as not the way to learn or the way not to learn. This is just my personal experience and this will differ from person to person. I wanted to share this story for those of you who are perhaps at language school right now but whose French is not progressing the way that you would want it to be and you're wondering why and you haven't really pinpointed why, but yet you're feeling quite low about it. I thought sharing my story could help inspire you to look at the language a new way and realize that you're not alone. So my reason numéro un is that I found that the groups were too mixed. When I went to the school I was sort of a mid B1 in my knowledge of the language and sort of certainly an A2 with my confidence speaking in the language, but I got put in a B1 level group, and of course in that group there's a variety of personalities, a variety of backgrounds amongst the people. Some people were learning French as the first foreign language like me, and some it was their third or fourth, so they had the confidence to, I think, speak in the language that I just didn't have, partially because they'd already learned languages, but also because I feel like I was just more naturally timid, and so groups added more pressure to me, so I didn't get the speaking practice that I needed. So the first reason is that groups were too mixed in their level. It might be a B1 class, but that B1 there's a huge range of things. It's not just your level of knowledge, but it's also your level of speaking, because you can be a B1 in your knowledge, but like I was an A2 or maybe high A1 with my confidence at speaking. And this is sort of why I'm not a huge fan of asking people what is your level on that scale, because you just give one answer like B1, but you can certainly be very different levels for listening, speaking, reading and writing. So unless you pass the exam to give you that official level, I don't find them very trustworthy. Reason numéro deux is, as I've already alluded to, the group environments didn't suit my personality and, as I found out later, my way of learning. I found like some personalities were more dominant and they would get more airtime, if you like, and therefore speaking practice. For someone like me who was more shy, I definitely didn't get the speaking time that I wanted, and if I did, it was only for a few seconds. It didn't really help me to express myself, and for me, having the knowledge that I'd already come into the school with, I needed time just to practice what I already knew and get comfortable hearing the words come out of my mouth and having real conversations with people. Looking back, I shouldn't have been there at that time because I didn't need to just pump my head with more knowledge. I needed more time to practice what I already had before moving on to stuff, and the group environment just wasn't conducive to that for me. However, I went for it because I certainly couldn't afford a one-on-one private teacher with whom I would work together to decide what I would learn and when. But I was really committed to investing in my French because it was a really important part of my life, as it still is now. So I decided some investment was better than no investment. In hindsight, I should have continued picking up bits of knowledge here and there on how to learn, but this all contributed to my path, and it's led me here 5 years later to still be in France and being a fluent speaker. Numéro trois is that I needed pressure, and this is one reason why I moved to the country and signed up for the school. I needed pressure to kick me on because I was not speaking enough, and I knew putting myself in a situation where I'd have to speak would make me speak, so that's why I did it. But I felt like it was the wrong sort of pressure. I felt like there was too much pressure that I felt. Not necessarily, I'm not saying this comes from the teachers, of course. It was just sort of the whole environment, the whole thing was just too fast, too intense for me. It was an intensive course, however, and I knew that would push me, but in the end I found that my limits were surpassed, and it took me a while to accept that and to feel comfortable with that, because a lot of time you put that on yourself. I would say, you know, it's my fault for struggling with this, why can't I be better? But at the end of the day, like I mentioned in the last week's video, you know, know why you should be doing something or should be better. And I decided, there's no reason why I should be better here. This just isn't the environment for me. One day it would move from the passé composé and doing a role play in the past tense to talking about the imparfait. Now at that point I had never learned about the imparfait in my journey. I may have got to a B1 level, but like I said before about all the range of people there, the range of their backgrounds, the range of their personalities being different. The same goes for what they know about French already. I had got to this point and I could consider myself, around a B1 level, but that doesn't mean I have to have already encountered the imparfait and suddenly we're diving into role plays with the imparfait. It just wasn't right for me. I just felt like this doesn't make sense for me to be learning this. I'm not going to retain it. I need to be practicing what I've already got stored in my head so I can consider it learned. Because the learning process isn't just about the reading and the listening. It's also about producing it and completing that cycle of learning, which you may have heard me talk about before. So I decided not to give myself a hard time, and that paid off. So what I did was I stopped going to the afternoon classes, which to allow myself to consolidate what I'd learned in the morning classes, do the homework, and also explore the city and have the sounds around me and really, get out of that structured classroom environment. Also, I realized that my time was precious, not just my money. So instead of just spending the money and just doing the whole 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it was, I knew that in the end, if I was coming out of it every day with a headache and not being able to really recall 80% of what I'd learned or the topics that I'd learned, then was I really doing myself justice and making the most of my time? Just paying the money and going there from 9 to 5 every day doesn't mean you're actually working. So I realized my time was precious, and the group, and yes, that's ultimately after the 3 weeks. I think I left early. I decided not to go, and then I headed south for an immersive program with a family in the south of France. So just to recap, for my reasons in a nutshell of leaving French school behind, is that I realized that a group environment was not for me, because the range of knowledge, range of personalities, and my own personality was not conducive to being in a group environment. I needed more one-on-one care. Topics also moved too quickly for me in order to be able to practice them and feel confident in saying I knew them, because what's the point in saying I know them if I can't use them confidently? I felt like it moved far too quickly. I accepted that I needed pressure to make myself start speaking, and so I thought going to a language school would be the best thing to do. Turned out very quickly that I realized I didn't need to do that. I was already in the country, and so I had people around me, and later I even found it doesn't matter that you're not in the country. You can find lots and lots of speakers in either a professional context or with language partners online really easily. And so just throwing my money at a school expecting them to give me French and to make me a French speaker was not the solution. And so that ties into the next point of realizing my time is precious, and to be a really active player in my French, being really aware of why I'm taking the actions I'm taking. Why am I learning something? What am I learning? When am I learning it? French school will not be able to personalize that for you in a group situation. Du coup, if this video has made you think about your own situation and why perhaps you're not getting the most out of French school, or perhaps it's vindicated your decision to be at French school, then that's awesome. I'm really happy for you. I really wanted to share a bit of my experience, a bit of my personal experience on the French learning spectrum, if you like, the ways of learning the language. And I hope I've done that for you today. If I did, if you've enjoyed this video, if you're still here, please do give it a like down below. It helps me get my videos out there in front of more eyes and grow my business on the platform. If you would like some one-on-one help from me as your French coach, or just to discuss your personal situation with me for free, we can hop on a free call. A link to that will be down in the description below. Go and check that out. But apart from that, guys, merci beaucoup d'avoir regardé et de m'avoir rejoint ici aujourd'hui. And yeah, bon français, and I'll see you in the next video. À la prochaine. Ciao.